Welcome back to another episode of Epistemology. I'm calling it episode. Look, leave me alone, man. Leave me alone. Maybe one day I'll get it all right, okay? But epistemology. Today we want to look at the idea of objects of knowledge. Objects of knowledge. It's one thing to understand that the human mind processes information these various ways, and that alone is empowering to getting us close to what we want to call knowledge. But then there's a thing about the various type of thing that you want to know. It turns out there is a difference. And this is important. If you have a different type of thing, it may require different type of information to actually come to know it, to become certain about the status of that particular thing. And this is the important takeaway. And my goal here is to look at these things, both the means and also these objects of knowledge, so that by the time we look at the theory and we see the philosophers struggling historically where they're at, we're in hindsight, okay? We could see where they're at. We're going to appreciate more their discoveries and also grow ourselves because we understand the background and significant and at a significant level, right? So objects of knowledge, things we try to know, different type of things we want to know. Abstract entities. The word abstract means something that is real, but technically it doesn't really exist. Right? It doesn't exist, doesn't have existence, but it is real. Classical examples are numbers. Numbers are real, but they don't really exist. There is some controversy as we studied in metaphysics with Pythagoras and other philosophers, even current intellectuals, who really want to tell us that numbers actually exist. Perfect geometry shapes exist. But the prevailing view is that numbers don't exist. They are abstract. Why they're important is that we need them. Numbers are part of reality. We need them to quantify the world around us. There are many objects that are like that we would describe as properties of things that exist. They're necessary. It's impossible to have any view of reality from any dimension without numbers, all right? And then, as in metaphysics, we saw there are many other kind of forms of abstract entities, like Plato's forms, Aristotle's essences, right? So numbers, time, and things like that are abstract entities that it's going to be controversial and discussion about them. But they are types of things. The problem of other minds, I call the problem of consciousness to try to update my view. But the tradition, the problem of other mind, this idea emerged from René Descartes, who concluded cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. He recognized he's a conscious being, a mind thinking and solving problems. But then he asked himself, what about other people in the world? Are they human? I mean, do they have a conscience like myself? At that moment, he recognized he doesn't have an experience of their inner world. He doesn't understand. Basically, call them automatons, robots, okay? It could be a robot processing information. And this is very relevant today when we say AI, artificial intelligence, or general AI. People are looking for if a machine, an AI, can actually speak and replicate everything that I can say, you can say. Does it have consciousness? Does it have consciousness? I would say, let's not talk about the AI. Look at the person in front of you. At what point in the conversation do you admit that this person has consciousness like you? Now you're in the land of philosophers. You discover this problem is very, very difficult. And if you struggle with the idea of consciousness from the philosopher side, you're not going to be intimidated by the problem that people in computer science are having with artificial intelligence and general AI, because that's an application of the problem of other minds. How do you know? The problem of mind. What is the self? This is, again, Descartes makes this very clear to us, although this problem emerged before him. But Descartes makes it very clear to us. What am I? Am I a mind? Today we would say, am I a mind? Am I a body? Or am I a soul? What am I? The problem of identity. And we would say, if Peter has a car accident and loses an arm, would Peter still be Peter? We say, of course it's still Peter. He just Peter minus an arm, but okay. So, and if you Say Peter have another accident and loses a leg. Is Peter still Peter? We'll say, oh, it's still Peter. Then what the heck is Peter if Peter's not his body? Okay, this is the problem of the self. What is the self? Descartes concluded the self was the mind. And we saw that in metaphysics, and many philosophers still believe in that. Some people, however, believe that the self is the soul. Then we're going to say what that is. If it's not the body, others, more contemporary people, would like to say it's the body itself. Then when they say it's the body, they have problem with people who get in the situation of losing a limb or two, right? So knowledge about who you are is very, very important, and it's a big part of our lives. When people don't know who they are, they end up in mental challenges and they have to go see a therapist. Knowledge about the future. We like to know about the future. And although as adults, we can say that the future is vague and obscure, because you understand it's a probability. But as philosophers, you ought to know there are certain things that are true beyond a shadow of a doubt about the future. For example, I take the abstract entity 6 times 6 is equal to 36. It's necessarily true. It is true today, it was true yesterday, and it's going to be true tomorrow. 6 times 6 will be 36, a million years in the future. When you enter the land of philosophy, although the day-to-day things may be probabilistic, that means you have good beliefs about them, there are certain structure about reality that are immovable, like the concept that 6 times 6 is 36. Those are immovable. So from metaphysics, we get an array of things that we know are going to be certain in the future, but they don't give us the content. When we say knowledge about the future, and we talk about the content of the future, not just the external structure, like the mathematics of the world, right? We can't say it's vague and obscure. We can say that. And I would say you can have good beliefs about the future. Now, the external world. And this is very, very important. External world is used deliberately so we can draw a distinction between what's inside our mind and what's outside our mind. External world means things I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can taste, I can touch. Things that are embraced by my 5 senses. Certainly, no one's going to doubt having knowledge about the external world. We do have encounters and problems, realize our senses differ from one another. Some of us see colors slightly different at different levels. Some of us only see certain shades. Some of us are colorblind, right? Beyond that, we all accept there is an external world out there. Well, most of us. In philosophy, we all accept the external world, probably gone too far. Last but not least, the past. When you look at your personal past, we call it your memory. We look at the past of a corporation, the past of a city, right? Someone else's biography, their history. It's something that occurred in the world over time. You know something occurred, you have that confidence because you understand abstract entities. But the content of what really happened is vague and obscure. There is a history beyond a shadow of a doubt. But the further back you go in time, the more vague and obscure it becomes. What happened 10 days ago? What happened 10 years ago? What happened 1,000 years ago? What happened 14 billion years ago? As you go further back in time, you have confidence that something did occur. That's your sense of abstract entities. But the content of that is vague and obscure, right? So all of these objects of knowledge, if you understand their nature right, you can come to a certain formulation where you say, I know things. Like I can say, I know things about the future. I certainly can say I know things about the external world, and I know certain things about the past. But I have to frame it just right. Same thing, I know a lot about abstract entities. I love mathematics. But when I look at problem like the problem of consciousness and people having minds, especially in the rise of robotics and AI, I am a little cautious. But I do like my argument is that I have consciousness. I'm part of nature. All human beings who are born like me have consciousness like me. So therefore, I'm good with that. Machines, I do not trust in that idea that machines can ever have consciousness, because my argument goes from my experience and the experience of other humans, right? Same thing with self is all about reflection and introspection, right? So that is, you can have knowledge in different areas, but they're not the same. They're not the same type of thing. You can't say, I want to know, in fact, that 6 times 6 is 36. Oh my gosh. You can make the observation, but that's not really what makes the case. The facts of numbers do not make it what it is. The truth goes beyond the facts. So I want to end this discussion right here. When we say objects of knowledge, as philosophers, please understand this is very, very important. We're talking about objects of knowledge. If someone talk about Bigfoot, they talk about ghosts, they talk about God and souls. Those are just different type of objects. We as philosophers try to understand the object, the nature of what of that object. How do we classify it? Is it a subspecies of an abstract entity? Is it a factual kind of thing, an external thing in the world? Once we can categorize that particular object, then we go deep diving and reasoning about it.